Hey there guys, Elite Legionarii here, and today I'm bringing you a 4 vs 4 field battle from Medieval 2 Total War. This battle was a bit special in several ways, which I'll get into now. This is the first where every single member on one team brought the same faction. My entire team is all Spain. We have Lavernicus, who was the original selector. He chose Spain, as he always does. But then I said to Polish Legion and Swedish Landsknecht, I said, why don't we try and replicate 31k tactics for Rome Total War and bring them to Medieval 2? This has been on my mind for some time, but it requires me to have allies who are willing to work in with me, and I know I can work in with these three guys well. Now, Lavernicus has no experience with Rome Total War on any level and doesn't know what 31k is. Polish Legion, of course, is a member of the Heaven Clan, so he knows exactly what I'm on about. And Swedes, although he does not play 31k, is aware of what it is, and I was in Steam chat with him, so I knew it would all come together nicely. All in all, they're all experienced Medieval 2 players, so I can work with that. But the whole idea is, obviously, with 31k, it's all about those big massive cav charges as the major killing action, and that's not going to work in Medieval 2 because you cannot smash through your own lines like you can in Rome Total War and charge onto the enemy lines. So obviously you can't do that, but everything else can still more or less apply to Medieval 2. And the thing is, it brings in a really big element of surprise as well, because nobody plays like that in Medieval 2. Nobody plays in the style of 31k. So I said to the guys, don't deploy out like you normally would, because normally what everyone would do is just deploy up at the front in their own little position and not come together. So what we're going to do is we're going to deploy back and we're all going to link up. So Lavernicus will get on to the left wing of Polish, I will move on to Polish's right wing, and Swedes will move on to my right wing, and our line will be absolutely continuous. And because we are all Spain, we all have an extremely powerful faction, we all have extremely powerful infantry, we have good cavalry, and we have great missiles. So we have no glaring weaknesses in our team whatsoever here. And it gives the element of surprise because nobody ever does these kind of things in Medieval 2, so it's always good from that perspective. So I'll start with my army composition. I have, I believe it was 5 units of Puppies Crossbowmen, 1 peasant, which I was using just going to, if there was any cav attacks on them, I was just going to rush it forward to take the shock of the charge. I have 4 dismounted Conquistadors, 4 dismounted Chivalric Knights, 2 Knights of Santiago, 2 Conquistador cav, and a General's Bodyguard. The Swedish Landsknecht's army consists of 4 units of Puppies Crossbowmen, 3 Pipe Militia, I believe he's got 2, no, it might be 1 Javelinman actually, 4 dismounted Conquistadors, 3 dismounted Chivalric Knights, then he's got 2 Knights Santiago, 2 Conquistadors, and 1 General's Bodyguard. So basically exactly the same army as me, except for the Pipe Militia and the Javelinman. In the Polish Legion's army, he's got 5 Puppies Crossbowmen, 4 dismounted Feudal Knights, and it looks like 5 dismounted Conquistadors, 2 Santiago Knights, 3 Santiago Knights, I'm just going to pause again, 1 General's Bodyguard. That's interesting, he was allowed 5 cavalry, he only brought 4. Strange. He mustn't have realised. And Lavernicus, he's probably got the most variation. He's got a mixture of, I think he's got 5 Puppies Crossbowmen, he has, I think, 2 Chivalric Knights, a General's Bodyguard, I think 1 Conquistador, well, he might have 3 Chivalric Knights actually, cav, and then he's got a Geneti as well, which I know Lavernicus is inclined to use, and Genetis are very good. Then he's got a mixture of dismounted Conquistadors, although not with defensive upgrades. He's got some Swords and Militia, he's got Chivalric Knights, and I think, yeah, that's his mixture there, I can't really tell. Our opponents are T. Joey 22 with Portugal. I don't know who this guy is, but he's got Portugal, so if we take a look at his army, he's got, let's see, 4 Conquistador cavalry. Okay, he's only got 4 cav as well. I don't know why people skim out in the cavalry. It's always a strange choice to me in Medieval 2 because cavalry wins all the time. 3 Aventuros, 2 Puppies Crossbowmen, 4 dismounted sorry, 2 dismounted Portuguese Knights, it looks, and then dismounted Conquistadors and dismounted Feudal Knights mixed in here basically. So that's his army, so we have a lot of Conquistadors in this battle. Then we have, in my opinion, by far the most experienced player on the enemy team is XX Teutonic Elite XX. This guy is a very good player. He has 4 units of, he's playing against the Holy Roman Empire, he's got 4 units of Puppies Crossbowmen, I believe it is 4 units of Teutonic Knights, extremely good cavalry, 1 General's Bodyguard, and he's got several Pipe Militia, and then I think he's got dismounted Imperial Knights and Feudal Knights, so a pretty standard Holy Roman Empire build there. Then we have the French under Trinquetas. He's got 4 Noble Knights, 1 General's Bodyguard, looks like 3 Aventuriers, 3, let's see, 2 Chivalric Knights, 1 Noble Knight, and then a bunch of Feudal Knights as his core, and then some Chivalric Knights out here. And then we have Knightly Games. Now this guy's build was definitely a weak link in their team, because he's got, let's see, he's got 1, 2, look at that, he's got, I think he's got 5 two-hander units, and that is not good. That's too much for what he's got for a balanced build like what he's got here. It's too much. So he's got like 3 heavy billmen, I think 4 heavy billmen, 4 or 5 heavy billmen, an English knight, and he's got much better armoured swordsmen in the back here. He should have had more of those though. Then he's got, let's see, he's got 4 retinue longbowmen, and then he's got 4 demi-lancers. Demi-lancers are great little light, sort of medium, zippy kind of cav that gets around the field really quickly and can do plenty of damage, but punch against much heavier cav it will lose. So it's risky. The English Knights are good because they've got an axe, which is armor piercing, but this is definitely the weakest link in their build. He's got a yeoman archer out here as well. So our plan was to link up immediately, because as you can see, none of these guys are linked really, and you know that's generally the case in Medieval 2 4v4s, 3v3s, you know, big games. Just don't act like in a 31k game Rome Total War, you usually, depending on the situation, you usually kind of come together at the start. Sometimes you might do a rush or something like that, which changes that, but the general result is you're always kind of together and next to each other with your lines all continuous most of the time. But it's not a feature you see used in the tactics of Medieval 2 very often. So it kind of gives us an enormous element of surprise, because this is not how people play in Medieval 2. But as I said, I wanted to be able to try 31k tactics. I mean, it's not going to be absolutely like it is in Rome Total War, because you just can't play it like Rome Total War, but you can still take things from it, and it is an extremely good tactic all round, because it has a much greater level of teamwork involved, as we know from 31k. That's teamwork is absolutely crucial, and that always gives you an element of surprise in Medieval 2, because people do work as a team in Medieval 2, but not on the same level as they do in Rome Total War 31k games, for the most part. So from this perspective, it allows us to get this really nice element of surprise in this battle. And as you can see, we present an enormous wall of Puppies Crossbowmen. Look at this. I think between us we have over 20 Puppies Crossbowmen. And that is a lot of crossbowmen, and that's going to give us a pretty hefty missile edge, really. Sure, these retinue longbowmen and yeoman archers are armor piercing and all, but they will, generally speaking, in most cases lose to a Puppies Crossbowman. So Suisse should win his flank, although he is slightly outnumbered. But then again, I outnumber the French player in missiles, so I can lend some to Suisse, so that evens that out. And Aventuriers, while a good crossbowman unit, don't have the large shield of the Puppies Crossbowmen, so again, Puppies Crossbowmen of mine should defeat them pound for pound. Then again, there's Puppies Crossbowmen from Teutonic here, so this is going to come down to hit between Polish and Teutonic, depends on how well they control those. And then the same thing going on here, but here's less. So all around we have more Puppies Crossbowmen. So as you can see, our line is continuous here. Now Swedes kind of sort of just refused his flank in a little bit, we were looking to bait some players at any stage. Now the good thing about this tactic that we're employing, these 31k style team tactics, is, as I said, it's unexpected by the enemy. And what this does during this fight is it means that this team shadows us the entire fight, and by that I mean they copy our moves, which means we set the rhythm and pace of the battle right away from the very beginning. And let me tell you guys, and this applies to any Total War game, if you manage to set the rhythm and pace of the game and you keep it on your team, then you have a much higher chance of winning than the enemy team does, because you're controlling and dictating the battle. And if you're doing that, then things are in your favour. So we recognised that this English army's got a lot of two-hander units, and they will not compete very well in a grind down fight with conquistadors at any level. And he's also got the weakest cavalry of everyone here on the battlefield. Plus, at this moment, he took his cav away, although he's used his stakes to kind of shield himself, which is not a bad idea, actually. It's pretty good. We were thinking that we could almost make a quick cav strike against them. But what we're doing is we're kind of marching up in an echelon formation with Swedes as the fist on the right wing up front, and the rest of us are moving along steady. Now, Lavernicus is less familiar with how a 31k tight teamwork situation works, so he took a little bit to get used to keeping a constant line. As we were constantly communicating here, and I'm just saying, no gaps guys, no gaps between us, so there's a little bit of a gap here, so I was just saying, Lav, fill this gap up, stick with Polish wing, and we just could keep a continuous line. And the reason this is good, especially in Medieval 2, is because unlike Rome Total War, you cannot drive cav through your own lines and into the enemy lines and cause mass routes. It's not possible. It doesn't work with the mechanic on Medieval 2. So the advantage there is, say myself and Polish Legion, the only units they can use their cav to attack are our missile units, which we can only use our own cavalry to block out. And that's all they can really do. All other cavalry attacks are going to have to come on the flanks, which means we know automatically where the cav is. Now, you can still make quick charges up through the centre to get at missile units, but their main attack is going to be on the flanks with both cavalry action in most cases. The only way it will change is if there are large gaps that develop in the lines and they can slip through them. That's the only way that's going to change. So we were also aware of that, so we could anticipate where major cavalry actions were going to take place. We knew that there was potential for them to rush our missile units, but we could easily just have our own cav sitting back to counter that. So that was easily predictable. So this basically meant that large cav strikes would come on either Swede's side or Lav's side. We knew that, unless there was a large breakup in our formation. That's the only way it would come anywhere else, because it was just too unfeasible in Medieval 2 to try and do that, try and bash through. So what's happening here is you're going to see this Joey guy, the Portuguese player, he's building his cav up here, but if he attacks, it's so easy for us to just, like Polish Legion, to send his cavalry just a little bit this way, Lavernicus to send his guys, and we'll have immediate numerical superiority going on for us right away. I mean, the same would go for them if we were to attack them in that compassion, in that style. So what's really good about this as well is that we can easily cover and protect each other quickly, and because we have more missile units, we can win a missile duel here, you see. And we also have, for the most part, we have stronger missile units all round, so we can win a missile duel of this kind because we have more and better. So as a result, they have to attack us, which means when they try to use their cavalry to get breakthroughs, which is what you would do in a traditional game, we're also close together, or close enough together that we can very rapidly move to support one another. Now here is a potential error made by Polish Legion, is see how far his cavalry's back? I just tell them in the game to push them up, because like these two, the French or the Holy Roman Empire, could make a quick strike against these missile units, and they are not close enough with his cav to intercept that fast enough. Although having said that, the distance they've got to go, he probably would get up there in time, but if he took his eye off it, he wouldn't catch it in time. But I had to tell him to move them up just to cover these positions. But as you can see, like, me and Swedes are amassing cav on our right, because England is definitely the player we want to destroy first because his army is the most vulnerable to destruction because it's got a lot of two-hander units, and the only way they're going to do any good is if they get a shock charge, and that won't work that effectively because there's pikes here which will absorb that charge, and two-hander units are terrible against pikes, and then bam, the conquistadors follow it up and it'll just be a stomp. And then cavalry is definitely in our favour, and Puppy's crossbowmen can tie down retinue longbowmen and actually defeat them if it's done right. Like Puppy's crossbowmen can take more of a beating than retinue longbowmen. Like retinue longbowmen do well, but they don't. The amount of damage they receive is much higher than the Puppy's crossbowmen, so they will lose. And he's using fire arrows as well. And fire arrows are only good if you are intending to do a morale shot type move. Which maybe he was because he had a whole lot of two-hander units, but what he really should use fire arrows for is enemy cavalry, because then you can get a cavalry victory. But he's just using fire arrows in a missile duel like this, and you just don't want to do this. It's not going to work because they're much less accurate. They do a little bit more damage and they have a morale effect, but they're less accurate. And as I said, Puppy's crossbowmen, they're tanky in a missile duel. They have got so much defense with a huge shield, and they could just take a serious thrashing. The only unit that outclasses them is muskets. So as a result, these guys in a long protracted missile duel, although they're a great unit, retinue longbowmen are an absolutely superb unit, as are yeoman archers, and they are armor piercing, they will lose solely on the ground is that they get killed faster than they can kill their opponent. And that's basically what will happen here. Essentially that's the same with these Aventurae, although he did get the first shots off, so my guys glitched a little bit when I moved them up, but even so, he'll do well. But even though he's started off with a bit of a lead on me because he got a few volleys off before my guys would properly fire, I'll still win it just because my guys can take much more punishment. The only players here that can really go it on even terms with our guys are Teutonic X and the Portuguese player, but they have less men to work with, so we have a numerical advantage here, so we're still going to win up here as well. So a long protracted missile duel is unfavourable to them, so what they really should do is look for a weakness in this line, but because we are so closely together and in support of one another, that means it's very hard for them to do so, and it's just so easy. Like even if they there's a couple of weak spots here and around Polish Legion's flanks, but even if they were to try cav action, it's just so easy for me to put some cav here, Polish to put some cav here. If they try a cav action over here, the Vernicus can put some cav, Polish can put some cav, or on the other flank, Swedes can put some cav, I can put some cav. You know, we're so close in support of each other here that we can do that. Now they can do the same thing, but we're in no hurry to actually charge here. Like we might as well just win the missile duel first, because we will win it because our missiles are better, and that's definitely our advantage here, and that's basically what's going to happen. So here we see the Portuguese player tries making some attacks, but the problem is here again he's come away from his own support structure, and it's just so easy for Polish Legion just to look. He's coming in with his cav. The Vernicus doesn't really even need it. He's doing quite well, but that's how close Polish Legion is. And these are tactics you don't see employed that often in Medieval 2 because they're more common to Rome Total War 31k. And that's why, as I said, it's an element of surprise and advantage here, because as you can see, these Portuguese cav are going to get isolated, tied down with infantry now that's coming in to support the cavalry, and they will be destroyed. Which definitely is bad for Portugal, because Portugal's going to lose the cavalry, which is going to mean they're going to be at a cavalry disadvantage, especially on the left wing, which means the left wing is potentially out for destruction earlier on. But look, as you can see now, a gap's formed in their line, so you know this guy could be isolated and cut off at some point in the battle if he doesn't rectify that problem. But as you can see, the Portuguese cavalry routes, and very minimal losses to the cavalry of our guys here. Their losses were much higher. He was away from his support structure, and he couldn't work to break around or split up the Vernicus because Polish is close enough to just come and support him just like that. So that's why these tight linking up strategies work really well. Now, me and Swedes, Puppy's crossbowmen, did some weird things in this fight. Like they kept marching forward, which is why I've taken more casualties, but I eventually got it sorted. But I have taken quite a few losses here, but I'm actually helping Swedes target these guys over here, and as you can see, they are getting wrecked. Like that, you know, Swedes has still got a lot of men left, and these guys are just getting wrecked. And not only that, look at all these Billman and heavy units here, they've lost like anywhere in the range of 10 to 15 men each, some of them. So Swedes not only wrecked these guys, or wrecking them, he's done a crap load of damage to these heavy infantry units, which is just absolutely crippling for the English player. And that's what I mean, the English player is getting really, really beaten up here. If you look, we have a 7% advantage in the missile duel. Again, the Holy Roman Empire is also losing, and Portugal is also losing. It's losing their cav. Now they do need to attack. Attacking was the right idea, but they need to do it together, and they need to identify where a weak spot is. And to be honest, that's very difficult to do because our lines are so closely tied together that we can easily reinforce each other at any point. Now here's a nice little move by Levernicus. He takes his Genites out, and he's just going to try and mop up some of these missile units here. This is what Genites are good for. They're fast, they're quick, they can throw javelins at anything that goes after them, and they just make some quick strikes, knock out a few missile units. You do have to be careful from getting shot at, but there's nothing to shoot at them now because it's all been tied down. So this is really nice stuff by Levernicus. This is exactly what you want to do with these kind of units. Light cavalry, Genites, horse archers and stuff, or heavy horse archers, you can do this sort of thing with quite effectively. And that's what Levernicus does, and he's done a nice job there. And what's going to happen is we've done enough damage that they're forced to have to attack us now, but they've lost their missile support in doing so. So here we see Teutonic X try to make a quick strike here, but again, Polish Legion's right there to stop it. And he's able to just push straight through. If need be, look, I can send Cav to cover this gap, so that any attack that comes in, I've still got coverage on it. So Polish gets these guys here, gets a nice charge in on them too actually, and he's going to get these guys which tie down, and because we've got missile advantage, we can hit them pretty bad. And as you can see, because of that action made by Portugal earlier on that Polish was able to support, it gives cavalry supremacy on this wing, so Levernicus can come and support here. So Teutonic X is getting attacked by 2 players now, which is not exactly good. Now the French player is trying to support, but again, my cavalry's ready, I can intercept this, I can put some missile fire down. He's going to try and strike up through the centre, but I'll just pull my peasants forward, soak up the charge, force them back, and I get some really good charges in on these guys over here. And again, as you can see, my general comes through, get my missile units back, and he charges into my peasants, and now his guys are stuck. I can throw in my conquistadors to catch them and hopefully do a bit of damage there. Up here, as you can see, Teutonic X is great cav, and he's making the right moves to try and find breakthroughs, but there's nowhere to go, there's nowhere to get through because our cavalry's plugging all the gaps, and we're close enough together at all times to constantly be in support. So they know they have to attack now. Now, as the attack they get an attack degenerates, there is gaps now available, so attacks in through the centre are potentially possible, but it's still really easy for me or Polish Legion just to plug the gaps in the centre at any point. Levernicus has got free cav rain on his side. The French player is going in prematurely at the moment, but he knows this, I think, and he's pulling back. Swedes has not yet fully engaged over here, but what he was trying to do, and me and both of him were talking about it because I have my Santiago Knights over here, is we were trying to see if we could draw his cav out. Swedes would send his cav this way, and maybe the English player would try and get them, and then I can make some cav charges on these weakened guys here and destroy them, because that would allow us to destroy this wing very fast and then rapidly roll inwards. So here I made it look like I was going to make a cav strike, then I run back, seeing if I can draw his cavalry in and see if I can force him to keep going further than he needs to. Over here, as you can see, the Teutonic cavalry is now destroyed. Now, again, I think Polish Legion probably went in a bit soon with his infantry here, because it's created a large gap that they could split through this line with, which is not greatest. Swede said, well, Polish has gone up, go in and attack, and he's right, because I need to plug this gap, or at least tie the French down, stop them using it, because otherwise they could get around us. But again, cavalry's all in the places where we can cover and support one another, but I see how huge this gap is, so I'm going to put my conquistadors there, and I'm going to keep these other cav close by on hand to help. And Swedes is going to send some cav out this direction as well. Again, he's got a very dominant cavalry edge here because the English cav is much weaker than his, and he's done a hell of a lot of damage. He'll easily take his opponent out because this English army is just shattered by all those missile shots. So he's going to charge in now, get the engagement. Now here I see these Teutonic infantry coming in to charge Polus's missiles. Now his own missiles will bog me down a bit, but I get a really good charge in here with my Conquistadors, and these 2 full units of dismounted feudal knights instantaneously rout. The French tries to reinforce this, but I'm going to disengage, and then I have my Santiago knights here, which for some reason are walking. I don't know what that was about. But it was I got a really nice quick charge in there and destroyed 2 heavy infantry units immediately. And at this stage, you know, like if I pause it here, we have the dismounted chivalric knights and feudal knights will do it right, but I've got an infantry superiority here because my infantry is stronger with the Conquistadors, so I should be able to defeat them in detail reasonably well. Although I think, does he have? No, I think the numbers are pretty even. And if I destroy this cavalry, which I've got better numbers on, and I've got really good charge angles here, as you can see, I charge into these stationary cavalry and get a really nice charge there. And I managed to do that all around the battlefield, which means I've got better charges. Swede's side, I know I'm pausing a lot, guys. I probably should actually edit some of this, but I can't be bothered. Swede's side, he's quickly working to engage, and as you can see, the English troops are taking a pretty hefty beating. And Swede's seeing opportunities here, charges through, because these guys are all tied down on my cavalry, and he gets some really good charges here, right into the flanks of these guys. So see what I mean by this? He doesn't even need his cavalry for the side, he's just being opportunistic. And that's what we were doing, you know. Over here I saw an opportunity to go at Polish's guys, I'm sorry, at Teutonic X's guys to help Polish, and I did, because I had enough coverage, because we were so close in support, and Swedes has seen an opportunity to do the same thing. So this close linked formation allows you to kind of like be everywhere on the battlefield with your allies and just looking for opportunities while having enough coverage and protection to look after each other. And that's the cool thing, everyone's got like their shoulder covered, if you know what I mean. If we look up on the other wing, this fight's engaging, although Lavernicus has allowed himself to get outflanked here, but he recognises this and he's pulling back before this guy can get him. But this isn't too much of a worry because Lavernicus has got all his cavalry and this guy doesn't have any left. Over through here I start engaging, and as you can see I am destroying the French cavalry for the most part. And what I decided to do here, I have my general's bodyguard in reserve, and I'm going to slip him through, and I'm going to mass rout the French infantry. Which I am already beating because my infantry is superior for the most part, but I want to quicken it up, and so I'm going to use my general's bodyguard here, and he's going to get a really nice rear charge right here, straight into the back of these guys, this large group. And as you can see, the cav fight grinds down pretty even, but I am going to take the victory. Swede's side, as you can see, pound for pound, this infantry was way too battered by the missile units, and they're getting thrashed by the Spanish troops there from Swedes. I've got my guys reinforced here. I got the French general just then. I think that was me who got them, or that might have been, okay, one of the allies. I think it was Swedes actually. No, actually no, it must be Polish Legion because it's up here with these guys. But Polish is getting these guys beaten up again. This is superiority of Conquistadors working there, and the flank is now shielded by Lavernicus. But Lavernicus has got cavalry supremacy, although I think he's probably lost his cavalry actually. But it doesn't matter, the centre has been completely destroyed by myself, and the right wing has been crushed by Swedes. Sorry about that. Sorry for coughing, it's too much talking, losing my voice. But yeah, the right wings of the battle, the right centre and right wing has been completely destroyed. So now I'm going to bring up my guys and roll them around the flank, and Polish Legion is winning his fight against the Holy Roman Empire for the most part. And we're going to keep pushing up. And it's just, the whole point of this battle was to be able to constantly cover and support one another, which we were easily able to achieve in this fight. Now here I get a charge by these guys here, which is a nuisance, but I don't think there was enough of them there to do that much damage. Nah, they're too depleted to do that much damage. I think that was Lav charging into some pikes. Yeah, Lav just charged into some pikes there where they turned around just in time on him and got him. But as you can see, I mean, like, Swedes have still got a load of men, and I'm beginning to roll it up here. And now that Polish Legion has pretty much destroyed the Holy Roman Empire, and I've been helping him with some cav charges to finish up. Portugal was on its own, and it's completely isolated. It's been easily cut off now by encirclement. and again, just this battle really displays how these tactics that are like 31k, they're not exactly 31k, but they are like 31k, how very effective they could be, but they have to be used for the teamwork. Because I find like these bigger battles on Medieval 2, I haven't done them for a while, but usually you don't have this level of teamwork with them because the players don't play them as often as the 31k players play their games on Rome Total War. But as I said, I've been thinking for some number of weeks now about how to employ these tactics into a Medieval 2, because I do believe there's an application. In fact, I believe there could be an application for any Total War game. Rome 2 could work well. Napoleon and Empire would be different, of course, but you could still do it. I think getting yourself shoulder to shoulder is a very good tactic in any Total War game because it allows you to cover and protect each other, especially central players like me and Polish in this fight. Our flanks were totally protected, and it allows us to send forces to the wings very easily, but we still have enough cavalry to hold our centre safe, and that worked very well because in most 4v4 scenarios in Medieval 2 you'll just see everyone deploy on their own little area and they'd never link up, almost never, but you know, I definitely thought, this is definitely a good opportunity to try this out, and I think we got fantastic results in this fight, to be honest. And another thing, there's no shame in using all like the same faction. It's quite common in Rome Total War. You see that people being like 4 Scipii or 4 Senates, or 4 Julii faction or something like that, and there's no reason why you can't bring 4 Spains or something. Although I wouldn't bring 4 Venices, simply because I think people would consider that trolling. Imagine 20 Stratiots. That would be funny, and very annoying if you were facing it. But it's never done in Medieval 2, and I think it's kind of a cool strategy to actually employ out there. So there's just the statistics here. We all have a very nice kill count there. Swede's coming away on top there with 868. I think he basically totally destroyed his opponent's army. Let's see, I have 542, so I've got the least kills here, but I did manage to get the most captures on top of it though. Polish got 701 and Lavernicus got 620, so we all have very nice kill counts there in support. And the cool thing too about us all being Spain is I can show you everyone's unit statistics. So here's Lavernicus at the top. Let's see, how'd he go? Looks like his Janiti's got some nice kills, his Chivalric Knights. His crossbowmen, yeah, they definitely won their fight. And his forces are very mixed. Let's see, his infantry got pretty even. Looks like Portugal did pretty much quite a bit of damage to him. He's Polish Legion, let's see. His cavalry was probably, it was more average, but then again it did face the Teutonic Knights, and they were probably the best cavalry employed by the enemy team. Actually they were. Teutonic Knights are absolutely excellent. But his general and one of his Santiago Knights did pretty good. But he had one less cavalry, bear in mind. I don't know why he did that. He was allowed 5. Always risky to go with less cavalry. You should always take as many cavalry as you're allowed in Medieval 2, because cavalry is the winning factor in most Medieval 2 games. 95% of games are won by cavalry. Let's see. Puffy's crossbowman, he was up against other Puffy's crossbowmen. Pound for pound, it looked like he won his fight there as well. His conquistadors, his infantry got a lot of kills actually, all around. His infantry did very well. But that was our major edge too, because we were all Spain, we have hugely superior infantry. Well, not hugely superior or anything, but we just had better infantry all around. All of us had awesome infantry, great cavalry and great missiles. We had no real weaknesses because we were all Spain. For me, yeah, my cavalry did reasonably well. It broke pretty even with most things, but I got some pretty good charges in, caused some routes, and I did take that French cavalry down. Still had enough cavalry left to catch a bunch of prisoners. Let's see. My conquistadors dismounted. Yeah, they did well. They did nicely. The Chivalric Knights, yeah, they did. Actually, they didn't do a whole lot because they didn't get into the fight very easily. And my Puffy's crossbowmen, they were glitchy at the start. I didn't catch it, but they kept walking further. Like I remember when I was playing this game, I had range, but they went further, kept walking further, even though they had the range, and they got shot up like both 2 or 3 volleys before they even got a volley off themselves. This one did pretty good. This one did alright. But as you can see, even with all that crap happening to them, they're still such a strong endurance unit that they can take that beating anyway. And then we have Swedes. Let's see. Wow, look at his crossbowmen. They thrashed. 164, 75, 126, 118. He absolutely owned. He got heaps of their infantry and all of those retinue longbowmen. There's no doubt Puppy's crossbowmen will beat retinue longbowmen. As much as retinue longbowmen are awesome, they just can't take the same level of punishment that the crossbowmen can. Looks like his Conquistador Cav did very well. His Knights of Santiago, actually that's one of his guys got, yeah, these two. One of his Santiago Knights, one of his Conquistadors did nice. And then we look at his infantry. His infantry actually did do very, very little. Looks like his cav and his missiles did all the work. So that was a really good game, though. That, you know, definitely 31k style tactics, definitely viable for Medieval 2. Just you got to use your cav quite a bit differently, but it's still a very, very useful piece of tactic. So great game to everyone who played. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'll link Swedes and Polish's channel in the description. Be sure to drop by and check that out. Both are well worth looking at. So thanks again, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave comments. Tell me what you think. I really appreciate any comments and views and everything you guys give. I love the feedback because it's very helpful to how I can improve things on my channel. So thanks again, guys. Hope to see you next time, and I'll catch you then.